I think as a business leader, it's incredibly important that we are invested in the positive depiction of women in all of our communication, in our advertising, in our promotional, in our activation, in our sponsorship. I think it's really important because I think nowadays companies are looked upon as leaders in this space. Our consumers expect it, our shoppers expect it, and I think it's the right thing to do. I also think that it's really important because I think it helps drive business growth. I think that in society nowadays, brands that are offering strong diversity messages and societal messages, positive depictions of females, for example, are highly respected and regarded, and shoppers are deciding on which brands to buy based on those. So I think it's incredibly important for business. We also know in the wider world that diversity pays dividends. Those businesses that are invested in diversity perform better, and the statistics show that now. So I think as marketers, it's incredibly important from a business perspective that we work together to depict women in a positive light. I think also, though, really from a human being perspective, and obviously from a female perspective, from a mother and a sister, a daughter, I think it's incumbent on us to lead that way. I think it's so important that women see positive, empowering messages in the media. And I think that, you know, I see her talk about all the time, if you see her, you can be her. And I passionately, personally believe it's so important to continue to drive this message with our brands. I think the GEM model is incredibly important because so often in our business we are asked for validation for our choices. We're asked to be able to prove why we want to utilise certain media, why we want to spend budgets, why we want to communicate messages. And I think what GEM does is it gives a really strong validation of the advertising or the communication that we are trying to do. And it helps us to understand if that communication is hitting the right message. I think also we know that the GEM score drives better business results. So that's incredibly important, particularly when you're speaking to the finance director. So that's a very useful practical tool. But I also think that GEM helps us to have wider conversations about the role and the depiction of females in our communication. Because I think what GEM does is, by its actual scoring, it helps us understand if we are scoring well, why are we doing that, and what have we done well, and we can learn from that. But also, I think it can be a prompt when very often, subconsciously, we don't realise that maybe we haven't succeeded in our depiction of women, we haven't got the right message across. And it helps to ensure that we avoid making those mistakes, avoid those pitfalls. So I think both as a quantitative tool and as a qualitative tool to enable the right conversations, it's incredibly powerful. And we've been using it much, much more in the last 2 years now across our organisation and across a wide variety of brands, because we do believe that the need to depict women positively is not just incumbent on our female-focused brands, but it's important that all of our brands show up in the right way. So we've been harnessing the GEM tool super effectively in that time, and it's really prompting, it's incredible, it has prompted a heightened level of awareness and much more sincere conversations around the quality of our communications. We believe it's incredibly important that we have diversity across the teams that are building our marketing communications, both within our own organisation and with the agency partners that we choose. We are very fortunate, I think, that #SeeHer has helped us with many of the tools to have really powerful conversations with our agencies. So we are really engaging on this conversation with our agencies from both a creative development, a production and a media perspective. We're using the #SeeHer tools, the creative briefing tool, the media environment tool, the scorings that we have for the media to say which performs better for women and which has positive depictions of women. So we're using all those tools to have stronger conversations with our creative and media teams. Indeed, in the last few months, I've been personally involved in it with a number of my brands, and as we develop new creative, starting off with the creative tools, starting off with the conversation that SeeHer has enabled us to have, and putting that front and foremost as a critical factor of success within creative development. And also, we're then very passionate about, we believe that if we have more women involved right the way through the process, we will get a more positive, realistic perspective of women in the advertising. So we are leaning in very heavily on ensuring that we have more females on our creative team, we have more females on our media teams, we have more females involved in the production, in the provision of the music compositions, of all elements of our creative story, of our marketing story, in order to ensure that we have the best possible depiction of women in our communication.